called me on this back a couple months ago, Curtis, and, you know, said, well, you know, don't take out my sister on the board, you know.
I've never said that.
You need to talk to the whole board, and now you are doing it with Mr. Peterson.
I asked a question, he responded. I get to talk to him, okay?
Do not get to talk to him if they don't want you to, because this is a board meeting and you are allowed to sit in and listen.
And I was recognized, and
That is it.
and I was recognized by the board.
Let's just take this down. This is a board meeting, and it is our decision.
Are you almost through with what you have to say?
Yes, before I was interrupted in several areas, yes. I'm trying to keep it short.
If you don't, you'll be sitting down.
I'm trying to keep it short, but I keep getting engaged when everybody else that was up here was allowed to say their piece and sit down.
Yeah, but they don't get
I
as forceful as you
think
have.
I'm direct. I think that the board should come up with a committee that establishes a process that allows for this to happen. If a change needs to be made, and I've said before, it may be that the right decision is to remove the Part 3. But I don't believe anybody on the board was involved in that decision. And because it's in a historic area and there's a lot of passion about those types of things, I think there needs to be a process. So I'm in support of a process, a policy with the board, not with board employees. It has to be at your level.
My name is Bill Harmon. I've been here a long time. Number one, you don't need a task force. You already have it. All you have to do is redo the rules that apply. You have a historical commission, you have a preservation commission, and you have an architect commission. You want to call it commission. Okay? The architect committee has rules. They ain't worth the crap, excuse my French, because it's so damn old. But if you rewrite them, you've got the architect committee controlling the building on the fort of private property. Preservation controls, what do you call it, the plaque property.
On the outside.
Yeah.
On the outside, right, exactly. And you have the Fort Clark Historical Commission, who can be in charge of the
Historic stuff.
historical stuff. So what do you need a commission for? What do you need anybody for? You just got to straighten out the rules that exist, period. That's it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Oh, Mr. Peterson, you want to say something? Oh, Lisa.
I would just like to say, I think we're losing sight of, this isn't about, to me, it's not about what's been done or not done, but that it's obvious that we need a process. And as to speak to daily operations, and we do need to define it, because my understanding and the definition of is the day-to-day operations, which is, you know, renting out the motel, taking care of the grounds, you know, regular maintenance. But anything that comes as a complete overhaul, anything that's a project that doesn't fall into the daily duties are not daily operations. And there should be a discussion. There is no discussion.
Maybe there needs to be, the daily operations just need to be redefined if they're in
It's an employment agreement.
Yes. The employment agreement does not trump our documentation. It doesn't trump the fact that ultimately, in the declaration, the board is given the responsibility of the grounds, of all of the grounds, because the members own the grounds, and we represent the membership. So ultimately, it is our responsibility. I don't want to micromanage Mr. Peterson. I have other things I want to do, but when it comes to fundamental changes at the pool, at the Par 3, there needs to be a discussion. Can we move forward with it? Can we afford to keep it like it is? We forget that we have 3 eras: historical, from the fort, Brown and Root, which I'm not sure, but they may have been the ones to put into par 3 before Fort Clark Springs Association even came into existence. So to put that out in the Historical Society, is a misnomer. So we have different histories. Which one are we going to take it to? How are we going to maintain it? The conversation needs to be had. I'm not talking about stopping daily maintenance issues that come up, but we have to have a process going forward, because the pool needs to be taken care of before we open in the spring. And we really need to do something with the par 3 because it's the first thing everybody sees. And we have to discuss on what we can afford at this point. So that's all I have to say, other than I think, whether it's a committee or the board that comes up with the process, it needs to happen.
Well, I'd like to see the board come up with a process, because we don't need another committee.
I do think we need input from historical.
Well, they can, certainly, but they can be part of the discussion. Yes.
Would be that it would help if the board come up with a committee, because what I'm hearing is that the architectural committee, the historical society, and Mr. Peterson and you all need to be involved in these decisions. So maybe the board needs to come up with a process of voting 2 people from each of those groups to be a part of this. But it sounds like this is too big of a job for just you, for just him, and for just one committee to deal with.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'll just read this because all right, this is my opinion. A task force is under the EO's purview and works directly with him. We do not need another board committee circumventing the EO. Committees have repeatedly tried to run the fort and failed. There's evidence in the files all over the place. The board and its committees are not supposed to run the fort, unlike what I've heard come from the audience when I was in various meetings, that the board should run the fort. No, that is not our job. We are not to run the fort. We are to make sure it's run well, but we are not to run it. It's in our code of ethics. And if anyone needs a copy of it, go to your declaration. There's a copy of it in your declaration.
It's in the bylaws.
It's in your bylaws also, yes. We are to ensure that the association is well managed, not to manage the association as a board. We have many talented, knowledgeable, and energetic people on the fort. I mean, obviously, you're very passionate about what you do. Those talents are often wasted on special agendas and pet projects. The missing piece has been someone that sees and understands the big picture and how all the parts work together for the good of the fort, not just individual members. If we are working for the good of the fort, then we are ultimately working for the good of the members. Alan has filled that gap, and he has the expertise to do it, so let him do his job. That's my opinion. We can
I will say something. I was not aware that adding another row of trees would be such a problem. Mainly because of the fact that the hole sat out there for 2 months before anybody said anything. So I sort of assumed that, okay, a tree on the square will look good. The reason I did the second row is because if you look at the first row, they're dying. And I don't think they're going to last another 10 years. The trees that are going in will be there 20 years to 100 years from now. That's why it was done. And no comment was made by anybody for the 3 weeks, the 4 weeks that the holes were already drilled before we planted them, or now since the 5 weeks since they've been there. So, it's a matter of, I made a decision. And if I need to take out 19 trees to make everybody happy, that's fine. But, that's just something, if you have something to say, and the person that made this statement had no problem coming into my office for the last 2.5 years until this came up. And he has not even contacted me. He didn't say a word. He basically did everything behind the scenes. And I have no problem talking to those people that come in there. So we can take the trees out. That's not an issue. I have no